are live. Good morning, everybody. I am Lawrence Winterman. This is the Daily Whatever Show. Dana is running just a minute or two behind. She'll join us momentarily. I am super excited to introduce Bree Fram to the crowd. Bree, oh, and Dana's here. I'm going to add her. Um, Dana, hello.
Good morning. I am so sorry that I'm late. I You can see I'm back upstairs in my other office. Dead
It's 7
computer.
a.m. You never need a reason.
All the tech craziness. Bree, is so great to meet you.
Nice to be joining you this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Bree,
Welcome to
would
the
you like
Daily
to
Whatever Show.
just give the crowd a quick introduction to who you are and where they can find you on Substack?
You can find me at Bree Fram. I think I'm the only one out there, so I'm probably pretty easy to
Nice.
get to. But I am a very recently retired Space Force colonel and astronautical engineer, colloquially a rocket scientist,
Nice.
who was forced out of the military because of who I am, not my performance, because of the animus that this administration has towards transgender people, or really anyone who's different, who doesn't fit the mold of who they feel belongs right now.
Right.
I spent 23 years in uniform protecting Americans on battlefields all around the world and here at home by taking technology right from the laboratory and deploying it in to protect troops in harm's way.
That is incredible. And I've got to say, Space Force Commander has got to be the coolest way, thing to be able to describe yourself at. Like, that is so sci-fi 21st century. I absolutely love it. I'm really sorry that you were forced to lose a career that you clearly were passionate about and where you were protecting Americans, right? It's absolutely abominable the way that you've been treated and the way that all trans and queer folks are being treated. Everyone, right? Like you said, everyone who's different under this administration. So our deep sympathies. We're really glad that you could be here to share your story with us today.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. It is a big transition to go from wearing the flag on my shoulder for 23 years to ensuring that we take the fight to a different place, that we do the things that are necessary, like organizing and voting and being participants in our democracy that are so critical to continuing on and making sure that we actually live up to that oath that we take, that one that never expires, to support and defend the Constitution, because that is so critical going forward because it is under attack in so many ways.
Yeah, I love that you are talking about that because we on the show talk a lot about the Constitution and the fact that elected officials and service members in the military like yourself and public service workers, they take the oath to the Constitution. The average American citizen doesn't really, like, unless you're a naturalized citizen, the average American doesn't usually take the oath to the Constitution. We just sort of assume that it's implicit. And we've been trying to kind of spur this effort where we're getting people to take a citizen's oath to the Constitution, because more people need to recognize that the oath is to the document, not to the flag, not to the president, not to any particular person or party, but to the software that runs our country, which is the Constitution.
Yeah, and I really feel it's to the ideals embedded into it that truly was there in our founding promise to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and honestly, to be better tomorrow than we are today,
Right.
which I like to relate to the trans story and that piece of it,
Mm,
because we as individuals are folks who realized we are not the best version of ourselves. We are not the possibility that was embodied in us, and that we're not broken. We simply reached for that best version, that we can be better tomorrow than who we are today. And I think that's really important to connect those two journeys as saying we are fundamentally American in reaching for who we are. And the Constitution itself is such an incredible document, but it's also one we don't always treat as a living document, but
Right.
we should,
yes.
because we
Yes.
need to understand it not as an 18th century relic, but as a 21st century promise. And we are truly in an area of opportunity right now to see renewal that we haven't seen since post Civil War, to take the opportunity that comes with the destruction that's being offered right now and fight for better, to actually go after the presidential powers that are enabled in there, refine what it means to have pardon power, make sure that no one is above the law in this nation, make more explicit that we cannot accept foreign gifts in the emoluments clause,
Right.
but then go after those other good things that we truly need, like equal rights. And what else can we do to ensure the rights and the opportunities that all Americans are promised?
I'm voting Bree Fram for what are you running for, Bree? Because I want to vote for you. Yeah, I
Well,
100% to everything you just said.
yeah, I may be talking about something next week.
Oh
So
my God. Okay, you
Really?
heard it here first, folks. That's incredible. Um,
Okay, please let us know.
Whereabouts, if you don't mind sharing, rough location parameters, whereabouts in the country are you, Bree?
well, I live in Northern Virginia,
Okay.
so just outside the DC metro area. I was last stationed at the Pentagon, and my family said, "This is our home. This is the place where we have lived for 8 of the past 11 years." And when we got the chance to come back here a second time, it truly felt like coming home. And we have some of the most amazing schools in the nation here. We have a diverse and innovative community. And I am so happy to be able to stay and to make this my permanent home, which I've felt it has been for really more than a decade. So I am proud to be a Virginian.
Amazing. I'm gonna
Wonderful. I
stop for a minute because I could literally just ask 100 questions of you right now. But Dana, I'm gonna let you get a word in edgewise. I'm trying to be self-aware.
I know. I'm like, we only have you for 30 minutes. We've got to make the most of it. Bree, I was reading a bunch of your content last night as I was getting ready for the show and trying to decide which story to share. First of all, I have to say you are very funny. You posted a video from New Year's Eve where you're doing stand-up comedy about being laid off or being fired, let's be blunt, from this administration. And you are extraordinarily funny. And I'm not going to ask you about that routine, but just to commend you for like, what a beautiful, graceful way to take this with humor and bite in your humor. Like,
If we aren't laughing, there is so much to
I
cry
know.
about every day, or to
Yes.
rail against, and to say, "I am fired up. What can I do about it?" But sometimes you just need to look at the absurdity in the situation and say, there's humor here, and humor is something that
Yes.
can bind us together. That shared moment of laughter that we can have really reinforces our humanity, and can not only give us something that's like, huh, whew, that little bit of catharsis, but
Yes.
who doesn't like to laugh?
Right. And to learn when laughing, because you get some very strong points in there. But the story that really touched me, I'm sharing it. I've now shared it twice here in the chat. It's um, it's the one that you wrote called a command transition. And what was so interesting to me was you wrote it in 2020. You wrote this in the throes of COVID, not long after your own transition, and it's like reading it almost made me cry because it was what I believed our country to be in 2020,
Yeah.
and what I'm sure you believed our country to be because you had the faith in our country, your employer, to live as your authentic self, and you go step by step by how you grew through it, and then you went and reposted it as you knew you were being worked out. Can
Yeah,
you, yeah, I may just give a broad, like, talk a bit about how you felt when you wrote it, why you reshared it, and what's changed since then.
well, I think a big piece of it was the message we talked about earlier, that we can all be better tomorrow. And that when you find your authentic self, there is so much value in it that I see it as a gift, not only to an individual to be who they really are, but to the people around them. And I've
Yeah.
talked a lot about this thing that a lot of us experience whenever we project a version of ourselves that isn't who we really are. It's like paying a tax. And I don't know about you two, but we understand that sometimes taxes are necessary, but no one goes
Oh,
in and be
yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm so happy I can pay my taxes today. And when you're hiding yourself, that's what you're doing. You're paying a tax on your mental energy. So when you get to not pay that tax and return that into the relationships with the people around you or the mission that's in front of you, that's incredibly valuable. So that's why I think of it as a gift to the self and to the people that you work with, that you love, that you are closest to. So that can apply not just to a trans person who is coming out as who they are, but to anyone who says, I have to act a different way when I'm at work or when I'm in a certain context. And it opens up pathways to connection. And one of the things I was really excited about in both writing that article and in some of the founding values, as Lawrence, you talked about building the Space Force and this chance that only comes around once every several generations to define what your values are. And to me, those are 24th century values, actually, with my Star Trek ideals in my heart.
We
my
can
But
geek out, Bree.
this reframing
Next
of
gen girl.
yeah. Oh, when I was 9. My first introduction to the show was over objections of my own. My friend made me watch, and after an episode, I'm like, I'm going to be Geordi. I'm going to make the warp engines go and help
Nice.
humanity expand into the stars. But
I
it
love
was,
that so much. I was Deanna Troy. The curvy
it took
one
me
with
a
the big
while to
hair.
develop something closer to empathy. So that one wasn't on my 9-year-old mind. But
I
in
just
any
had a
case,
weird crush on Picard and Riker and couldn't kind of decide who I wanted to date more.
Oh God, Picard. Picard
Well,
times 1,000. Are you
I mean,
kidding?
Picard is hot, but Riker had a certain swag back in the day.
All right. Well, I'm sure that Riker maneuver of any time you get that leg over the chair really gets you going. But in returning to the question and one more piece on that, I think this reframing that we need to do around vulnerability, letting out who you are. So many of us see that as weakness. But it's not weakness. It is letting others in. It is showing people your humanity and building that bridge to connection. Because it's once we connect with one another over whatever small issue it may be, perhaps it is identity, but there's so many aspects of that, like what sports team do you cheer for? Where do you like to travel? What's your favorite food? Any of those things are pathways to connection that we can really build those bonds that create high performing teams.
Oh my God. I want to work for you. I want to vote for you. And I kind of want you to be my spiritual advisor too. How are you so optimistic in light of everything that's happening? Like I just before the show I've been reading about everything happening in Minnesota, which we're going to be talking about in the next 30 minutes. And I'm scared. Like I have a pit in my stomach this morning. Like how have you gotten to this place of seeing the bright side and the potential of what we can be?
So I still do fundamentally believe in who we can be. And there is a lot of my family story that informs that history, as well as, in 23 years of service, one of the things the military never taught me how to do was to surrender and how to fight for what you believe in and what you need. It is not I give up. It is how do I regroup? How do I figure out another way around, another solution? But I have a family history that on one side has fought for the America that I believe in dating back to the Revolution. And even though that side of the family weaved its way through the Confederacy and is not perhaps the ideals that I would have liked to see, because they did a lot of terrible, terrible things and are fundamentally un-American.
Right.
I had the whole rest of my family come in as immigrants and refugees in the 20th century. I lost family members in the Holocaust, but those that were lucky enough to get to the United States. My grandfather, as soon as he was old enough, having gotten out of Germany in 1936,
Oops.
was one of the lucky few to get to America. He raised his hand as soon as he was able to enlist and said, "Send me back because I know what evil is."
Hmm.
He and my other grandfather, who was an officer in the army in World War II and used his guile twice behind enemy lines to convince the Germans to surrender to his inferior force. Truly amazing.
Wow.
But that grandfather who was a refugee, he was the one who was so proud of me as his only grandchild to join the service. And seeing that pride on his face with his granddaughter in a United States uniform, fighting for some of the same things he did, was incredibly meaningful. And as he grew older and he got so amazed by every promotion, every increase in responsibility that I had, and he was the guy that the last time he ever traveled was to my commissioning to give me my first salute. He gave me a whole lot of courage. And when I was commissioned, he actually gave me one of his Bronze Stars. He won 2 of them and was offered a battlefield commission for valor that he turned down. And it came with a quote around it that said, "Courage does not always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day that says, I will do my best again tomorrow."
Mm.
And when he gave me that, I didn't understand it. In fact, there's a picture of us when he literally gave me that present and I looked confused. But over the time of my service and what I did, I learned that that is about getting knocked down and getting back up again and fighting your best tomorrow. And that's what I believe we need to do today. That's what I fall back on. Like, knock me down, Trump administration, fine. I'm going to get up and I am going to show you what happens when you kick out a bunch of highly motivated, highly qualified badasses and you don't think it's going to come back to bite you. It's the courage to get up, keep fighting, and fight for those ideals that we believe in who we can be as Americans, to make sure there is an inclusive American dream open to everyone, to ensure that America is a beacon to refugees, not a source of them as we see people fleeing the United States.
Yeah.
We need to protect the rights we have and fight for more because we can be better.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You write a lot about vulnerability, right? And in the story that Dana shared, you have this wonderful moment where you're talking about kind of how you'd previously kind of seen yourself as maybe Captain America, or people had seen you that way, and the cracks in the shield and letting vulnerability come through were the things that really kind of binded you more closely to the people around you. And I'm curious how, in this moment where you were forced to separate from a career that you're clearly passionate about and qualified for, and was your life, like what are the feelings that you're kind of working through as you're dealing with that sort of forced resignation?
Grief.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of my identity to have been in the uniformed service for 23 years, wearing United States across my chest meant something to me. It was not just the mission that we had, which was incredible. And I loved being part of the mission of the Air Force and then the Space Force, particularly as a technology developer, as a leader, as someone who developed the future force. And in my final assignment, was responsible for defining what that force we needed to keep Americans safe 5, 10, 20 years down the road for our space capabilities was. That was amazing. But it was the people that I worked with who really mattered to me. And as you mentioned, letting those shields come down to let them in and build better teams was incredibly important. I look back and I say the proudest moment of my career was when I was doing work. I had teams working to do counter drone technologies. And this was truly a moment back in 2019, 2020, where we were taking capability out of the laboratory, deploying it overseas, and saving lives. And that team won a Team of the Year award, several levels up for the entire research laboratory. I was so proud of what that team accomplished, the ability that they came together. We took smart risks. We did a mission that wasn't really in vogue, that another organization should have been doing and didn't have the bandwidth to do. And we said, we will do it because it is this important. Made a decision that put personal career on the line because the payoff was valuable. And oh my God, did that team perform and excel. And when they won that award, I was so proud of all of them and what was accomplished. And that is the meaning of that we can do hard things and we should do hard things. And that keeps me going as we build new teams, an America that lives up to that idea that like Kennedy challenged us when we were going to the moon. We don't do this because it's easy. We do it because it's hard, but it's necessary and it's important.
Yes,
I'm so inspired by this conversation, Bree.
No,
I have to tell you, I'm just floored by your calm kind of centeredness as you're confronting, this incredibly challenging time in your career. Um, uh, yeah, huge
yeah.
fan, instant fan.
I
5 stars. Highly recommend.
Would highly recommend. Outstanding.
Right,
Give me a
One of
great
the-
Google review, please.
Right,
right. We're all going to go to your review page and say, would follow this leader. No, Substack doesn't save the live chats when we post these recaps, which is a true bummer. I don't know if you can keep up with how many people are weighing in here. Wow, Bree, you are the inspiration. I wish I'd had a chance to serve under you. So everybody is just singing your praises in the chat and talking about how inspired they feel. There's also a question of I don't know if you can answer this, will there be a lawsuit? Someone has asked in the chat if you are comfortable answering that one.
Well, there were multiple lawsuits and they're actually ongoing. And that's why all of us have been thrown out or in the process of being thrown out right now, because though the lawsuits were won and an injunction was placed at the district court level in 2 different courts, the government made an emergency appeal all the way to the Supreme Court, who allowed this ban to go into place, basically saying, oh, there's no harm in this. And this was despite overwhelming evidence that there was no evidence for the government's case. In fact, in one of the lawsuits, the district court judge asked the Department of Justice lawyer, well, if these people are such a problem, who are they? And the government lawyer replied, well, we don't know. We'd have to go through medical records to figure out who they are. And in the judge's scathing ruling, she said, it is the service records of all these service members that are exhibit A as to why the government's case is based on nothing but animus. There is nothing but excellence in those records, because transgender service members didn't just meet the standard, they exceeded them because they knew what a harsh spotlight was on them in every circumstance that said, I am watching you. And you need to work twice as hard to prove just how incredible you are. And they did. They flew our nation's most advanced aircraft. They commanded ships at sea. They led units. They were some of our most advanced cyber operators. They did everything this country asked of them and more. So you can look at any of our records. You can look at my 23 years of performance reports where it always says meet standards, or the stratifications that I received as one of the top officers in the service over and over and over again, and see that repeated in the records of thousands of people that are now having to find to do something else. Something that they loved was taken away from them. Something they were doing as a service to all of us was ripped away based solely on who they are.
I can only imagine the void you have left behind as a thought leader, as a people leader, and as a technological leader. Like, as someone who works in tech, I'm like, they must just be scrambling. Like,
Honestly.
what was Bree doing on this? And everyone's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. No one was as smart as she is.
Yeah.
I
Bree, I
know
know
we're almost.
we're on the verge of
You go ahead,
running out of
Lawrence.
time. And so I've got a question for you, and then Dana has a question for you to wrap up with. My question is, how worried do we have to be about a Kessler effect cascading collision failure in low Earth orbit?
So, great question. As we move from these small constellations of satellites to these proliferated mega constellations, whether that is Starlink or Amazon's version of it. And we do still have to recognize that space is a big, big place. So, even with thousands and hundreds of thousands of satellites up there, there's a lot more space out there. What it requires is smart coordination and traffic management and tracking. And that, in many cases, requires the government to be a big player in this and to make sure that the entities out there are working together to ensure that we know where everything is. And so there's both civil and defense applications in that. Now, are there possible effects that would cause low Earth orbit to be functionally unusable for a while? Absolutely. But it is our job to make sure that never happens. It is our job as a military to be a responsible one in space and to think about what those effects could be, because we provide capabilities and services to the world. I don't think people understand just how much we as a society, as a civilization, are reliant on GPS, which is a free service
Oh,
that the United States military provides to the world.
Yep.
If it breaks down, banking ends, transportation ends.
Yep.
We set ourselves back 100 years or more. It is devastating. So we absolutely are focused on keeping that space safe and making sure that we're able to provide capabilities, because we don't live in many cases without what space provides.
That is
oh
an
my God.
amazing answer. Thank you for taking my question seriously. I knew that you would, based on your experience and background. It's a, I'm a sci-fi nerd, and so things like this keep me awake at night.
I am glad Lawrence asked the brainy question, because did not know what that was. Now I'm thinking about my life without GPS, though, and I'm like, Dana can't get across town without GPS, even in my
As
own
best friend of
familiar city.
47 years can vouch, Dana cannot get
Yes.
across town without GPS.
All these verbal skills mean no spatial skills. My final question for you is, what can we do? What can we do to help be allies? What can we do to help um, keep democracy going? Do you have any parting advice?
Yeah, I wrote on this actually a little while ago. Do the boring things that make democracy work. Show up. Go to a school board meeting and speak. Vote. Donate to causes and candidates who represent you, but get out there and make your voice heard. I think the biggest thing we have to realize right now is what this administration wants is silence and compliance. So
Mhm.
first, absolutely do not comply in advance. And I know this is really frustrating for people that are part of organizations that say, I have to keep getting paid, and so I need everyone to be quiet. But don't. Utilize your First Amendment rights. That is the most important thing we have. That is critical to a functioning democracy. So use it, show up, use your voice, use your dollars, support people, issues, causes, candidates that will fight for you, that will fight for that America we need, that fight for that America that invests in itself rather than paying its own leaders right now to do the things that we're going to need to be safe and secure in the future. If we are eating our investment funding in science and in healthcare and focusing it on the now and doing all the crazy things that keep us less safe, that reduce our standing in the world, we are in for a whole lot of problems. But that counts on you being quiet. And so to everyone out there, speak up, stand up, do the things that protect democracy, even if it's one of those things you're like, if I have to.
Right.
But you have to.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Oh my
Go
gosh,
do it
Bree.
now.
My
Please run
friendly
for office. Please run for office. And any way in which we can support you in the future from our blast radius here on the Daily Whatever Show, we will be here. And I think you have about, I don't know, 260 people who are willing to do the same. If you could hang out 1 minute, can we bring
Yeah,
Anne on, our next guest? Because Anne, who will be on the next 30 minutes, also in service and was like posted last night of it. Thank you for your service. I was like, I'd love to introduce you to at the
sure.
transition
I've
point.
got a couple more minutes.
Great. All right, I'm
Awesome.
gonna bring Anne onto the stage. Hello, Anne. Oh, Anne, you're muted.
Good morning,
There you are.
and good morning, ma'am. It is such a pleasure. I don't know if we're even supposed to when we're both out salute, but I'm honored.
Oh, well, thank you, Anne, and thank you for the work that you're doing. And I'm sure you're going to talk about because it is critical. And as someone who grew up in the Twin Cities area, I know my friends and family that are still
Mhm.
there are hurting right now. And I know they're also doing those things that I just talked about as you are, to show up and do that stuff that matters in service of all of us, particularly the most vulnerable. And I know your community has a lot of people that need that help right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the one thing that I can say that this administration has done right by accident is uniting a whole lot of people,
Mm.
disparate people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and we are one, and we the people.
Absolutely.
Really
So
good point.
it was a pleasure to join you all and to meet you, Anne. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the show.
Thank you so much,
Bree. Thanks
Bree.
for being here.
It was a
Means so
pleasure.
much. Thank you. Take care. Oh, I hate seeing you leave. It's always so hard to click people out of a chat. Oh
I
my
have a quick
gosh.
technical question.
Sure.
Oh,
Yes, go for
I'm
it.
so sorry. There's a button here that says stream this to your audience. I was afraid to click it just in case it screwed something up, but if I click it, will it just stream it to my Substack followers?
It should. Yes.
I'm going to try it.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, can't do it without a StreamYard account. All right, there we go.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Sorry to do that to you. But
We are
No,
all
that's
still
okay.
learning in real time.
We're still learning the
got it.
intricacies of this
Also,
tool as well.
I just want to say you guys made me feel really old because I always identified with Spock.
Oh, well, hey, here's
We're
the
old.
thing. I'm an original Trekker as well. Like, I absolutely identified with Spock and thought Captain Kirk was kind of hot.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe later I'll show you the picture of me in my Uhura costume.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's a deal.
We would
Okay.
love to. And to be clear, plenty old enough to have watched the original. I just didn't come to it till next gen. But
Got it.
I was
I
not 9 years old. I was in grad school.
Right.
So,
I'd like to think I
Okay.
helped bring you to Star Trek, Dana.
um, being trapped in Nashville for 2 years in the 90s for grad school is what did it for me. But yeah, you were definitely one of the influences. And that was such a natural transition. We didn't say hello and welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. We are so honored you're here. This was one of the most impulsive guest appearances ever. I saw your post late yesterday about Minneapolis, well, just Minnesota in general,
Mhm.
filing a lawsuit against ICE and Kristi Noem. And I was like, oh my God, can you please come on our show and talk about this? And you said
Yeah,
yes. This is the magic of Substack. So thank
absolutely.
you.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
thank you so much for reaching out and for inviting me. And I'm glad it could all come together. And really tough act to follow, but I'll do my best.
Yes, and also I have no doubt at all. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. My name is Ann Mitchell. I am an attorney, a law professor emeritus, a law dean emeritus, and I am presently the author. I call myself a journal lawyer of
Yes,
notes from the
I love
front.
it.
Notes from the front here on Substack, and that's literally what it is. It's notes from the legal front, explaining to people in plain English what's going on in the courts in the battle, basically to save our country's soul with this administration. So that is my niche. I get the source documents, I save the source documents, and I explain what's going on in plain English.
And it really
Thank
is
goodness.
that, isn't it, Anne? We are in a battle to save the soul of this country. I'm not sure that everyone recognizes that yet, and I
Yeah.
don't know how else we could make it more explicit that this is the the true do or die period in our history where either America is going to fall into dictatorship and tyranny, or we are all going to step up and make some personal sacrifices and save it. How do you explain that to people? How do you get through to folks who may not want to hear that it's that grave?
Well, a couple of things about that, but first I need to let you know that my dog is about to start start barking. To
I am so sorry.
No,
I
don't be
muted.
sorry. Don't be sorry. I just wanted to warn you. She's looking out the window now, like, where is that dog? Um,
That's Kira. I just gave her a treat, so
we're
hopefully
we're
that'll keep
used
her
to it.
quiet.
aw. And I have Lily here.
Oh,
So,
sweet.
oops, what's going on? Okay. So, uh, like I said, a couple of things about that. It really is a battle to save the soul of our country, and it's also not as dire as people are feeling, which may seem like a contradiction, but it's really not. And part of the thing is that Bree was absolutely right that the administration wants us to just be quiet and comply on one level. But on the other level, they want everybody freaked out because a scared, confused, stressed, freaking out populace is a weak populace. And
Mm-mm.
the reality is, if you look at what's going on in the courts, they are losing almost every single court action.
Mm.
Not only that, except for a few in the beginning, notably the Abrego Garcia case, which everybody knows about, and the Planes in the Air case, which everyone knows about, except for those and just a couple of other, they are complying with every court order. And yet,
Really?
the general awareness is they don't care about the law. They don't care about what the courts tell them. And they want you to continue thinking that. The chaos, and this is true, I'm not even painting just this administration with that. That's true of pretty much any administration that's trying to break the mold and remake something, right? I mean, that's part of the playbook.
Right.
So, yeah, really, they are basically complying with every court order, but they don't tell you that. And even
Oh,
the mainstream media isn't telling you that because that doesn't make good news, right? You know, the Trump administration violated this court order and ignored this court order. That's great news. So that's why I said, yes, they want us to be quiet and comply on one level. But on the other hand, I mean, if they really wanted us to be completely quiet and comply, they wouldn't be fomenting the protests in Minnesota right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
it completely makes sense. And I love the word foment. Um, a, a question did just come in. I will ask if you wish to answer this one. She asks, can Anne speak to the recent Eighth Circuit decision about DHS?
I would need to know which one. There are quite a
Well,
few decisions coming out right now. So if they can tell me which particular egregious action it was about, I would be happy. But off the top of my head, I don't know which one they mean.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's for you,
Don't mind.
Jessica B. If you want to chime in with more specifics in your question, I will try to catch it. The chat is going by pretty quickly today with two such
Yeah.
amazing guests here.
I'm happy to take questions though.
Yeah. Maybe let's talk about what's happening in Minneapolis
Yeah, let's do
the
that.
post from last night. If you could kind of catch people up with the facts on the ground.
Okay, which post are you talking about?
Oh, sorry. The one through which Dana found you about
Oh, my
the
post.
action against. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
suing
So that
gnome, the
was
one with the big woot on it, which I love to see a lawyer who says woot. That made me very
Well,
happy.
if you read some of my posts, you will find that I
Yes,
am also pretty snarky. So,
yes.
We
but
appreciate that.
anyway, yeah. So just yesterday, the state of Minnesota along with the city of Minneapolis and the city of St. Paul, filed a lawsuit against the administration, specifically against Kristi Noem and Greg Bonvino and their agencies, about everything that's going on. But certainly the catalyst of this was the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good, which I think gave them the impetus. I mean, it was the pivotal action that was so egregious that it was able to sort of consolidate everything else and become a lawsuit, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Oh, it
people
does.
may be and have said to me, what took them so long? And let me tell you, from event to filed lawsuit, 5 days is blazingly fast. It's an 81-page complaint. The complaint, for people who don't know, a complaint is the thing that initiates a lawsuit. It's the very first thing. It's someone literally complaining to the court, this thing happened, we need the court to help. And it includes not only her shooting, but pretty much everything that ICE and the administration have been doing since the start of Project quote unquote Metro Surge. And it's stunning in the revelations that some, I didn't even know about certain things. So for example, they include the fact that an attorney, a civil rights attorney, which, I mean, the irony, she clearly knew how to be an observer, and
Yes.
she was there observing quietly, and she asked, I think she said, are you arresting this person? It was an ICE action. And their response was to one of the ICE agents unloaded at least one full canister directly on her of pepper spray.
Wow.
So that is in there. Just lots and lots of different examples, because, the more you can show to the court, these are areas that are, problematic and indeed unlawful in terms of their actions. That's why I said 81 pages in 5 days. And you have to understand that it's not just a matter of putting together the narrative. Their lawyers had to research all the law, they had to find case law. So anyway, so for people who are frustrated that it took 5 days, in the law, that is just the blink of an eye. And people also being frustrated with how slow the courts, again, I said the administration is following nearly all the court orders, and there are over 500 cases against this administration right now, lawsuits, and I'm following them mostly all. And again, when an order comes out, the administration does follow it. Now, they appeal it, and a lot of times that's what people think means they're not following it. And there may be what's called a stay of the court order, which means that court order is paused. So again, now, the administration can keep doing what they were originally stopped by a lower court order to do. And that may look to people like they're not following the order, but they really are following the orders. But of course, it's very slow going and people are very frustrated. Anyway, back to the case. One of the things that came out of the case, so of course the lawsuit alleges that the fraud claim about, the Somalis in Minnesota with the childcare, Minnesota is arguing that was a pretext. In other words, they're just making this up in order to justify having all these ICE agents there. What I had not known, so maybe your listeners don't know, is that Minnesota itself brought the fraud issue to the administration in 2022. And the Minnesota law authorities were working with the FBI on that as early as 2022.
Wow.
So it is absolutely a pretext for the administration to be saying, we need to go in there, there's all this fraud, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another thing that the lawsuit has brought to light. The primary basis for Minnesota, Minneapolis, and St. Paul to say that what ICE is doing is illegal and unlawful. One of their primary arguments is the 10th Amendment, which is the amendment of the Constitution that says anything not explicitly given to the federal government is reserved to the states.
Right.
And so by the federal government coming in, and in one part of the complaint, it says basically this is an occupation, and they're right. By the federal government coming in and taking over law enforcement activity, that's not allowed. And that is illegal under the 10th Amendment and certain other case law and other things. So I'm just babbling, so stop
You
me.
were not babbling at all. We're
I'm
soaking
curious
in
what you
everything.
think the chances for the case are. I think we know the process to get to the Supreme Court is a lengthy one. There will be much back and forth, but I think many of us are kind of worried about the construct of the courts these days, especially the Supreme Court, and what the chances are for something to actually succeed on the merits at those levels.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that I love that you said succeed on the merits, because so many people don't understand, and many people understandably believe like the Supreme Court is in his pocket, right? But the vast majority of things coming out of the Supreme Court right now are from the emergency docket, which some people have called inaccurately the shadow docket.
Right.
The emergency docket is a procedural docket versus merits, right? So in other words, it's the docket where a party says to the Supreme Court, the lower court issued this temporary injunction and it's causing us harm, and we want you to stay this injunction, stop, pause the injunction. And yes, the Supreme Court has sided with the administration a lot on those emergency procedural rules. And it can be argued one way or the other whether or not any given issue coming from the Supreme Court on the emergency docket is correct. But the most important thing is it's not a ruling on the merits. But again, the administration loves it when people are all up in arms and it looks like, and they spin it as the Supreme Court is siding with them. But it really isn't, at least not on the merits. So I believe that I would be shocked if we don't see some sort of temporary ruling on the Minnesota case within a week.
Oh, wow.
I mean, again, temporary, but that's what they're applying for. They're asking for emergency relief. So,
And what do you think that would look like practically on the ground?
Well, we have the example of Chicago, and that looked like the court absolutely reining in and spanking the administration for the very same actions that Minnesota is now able to allege. So I think it would look like the court providing a framework under which ICE must operate, which includes things like, and actually in the complaint, in Minnesota's complaint, it very much mirrored in part the complaint in Illinois, asking for the same relief. In other words, the ICE can't use pepper spray and they can't use rubber bullets and they can't unless an agent is actually in danger and those sorts of things. And so I think Minnesota was very smart to basically tailor a lot of their ask directly on the winning one in Chicago. So I think that it would not look like, federal government, you are ordered to pull out your troops and leave, because the court can't order that. And a court can restrain the activity based on the guardrails of the law. So I think that's what it would look like. It would look like, hey, you have a right to be here to enforce immigration laws, but that's not what you're doing. And so you need to go back to your lane. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. With the amount of funding and just sheer volume of folks they're hiring and facilities they're building, do we think it will work? You can hear my skepticism in my voice as I'm reading about everything going on there.
I do. I do hear your skepticism, and I guess that depends on your definition of work.
Yeah.
I have not heard of any major violations of that court order in Chicago. I'm sure there have been some. I know there have been some violations. I also know that the judge in Chicago has been very quick to pull them in when they have violated, and has really just taken from having them on a leash to then a shorter leash to basically under her thumb. So it will probably take something like that in steps, because this administration, part of this, I was thinking about this yesterday, is that the administration is out there hiring all these young testosterone full bucks. I mean, they have a profile of the people they want in ICE, and they're getting them. And that's part of the problem, because I think that these new baby ICE agents, for example, the training has been cut from what was it, months to 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, 47 days.
They're releasing these people out there in the wild. They're giving them the hoorah, boost, without really giving them the training. And those people are out there just sort of, I imagine, feeling like they've given us this power, they've given us a mission, they've got our back, we're going to make them proud. And I have to tell you, they are not going to have their back when it comes to it. They are going to throw those agents under the bus. And
Yes.
I mean, in a way, I feel sorry for these young kids who are out there doing this, and they're going to be caught, in the crossfire. Probably bad analogy, but
No, we take your point. Like they're gonna end up being the ones who are getting hung out to dry, because they're essentially following illegal orders, or orders that are morally compromising. I
right.
I'm
And
sure.
let me just interject to
Sure.
say, this time there will be no President Trump to pardon them.
Right. Right. We worry that there
Yes.
will be a President JD Vance, but um, and I'm wondering. So this must be, as a legal expert, your least favorite kind of question.
You'd be
But
surprised.
Go Lawrence.
if you were in the position where you were the defense attorney for, I forget it, Jonathan Ross.
Jonathan
The name?
Ross.
Yeah,
Jonathan Ross.
No, that is not my least favorite kind of question, because a good attorney has to be able to see all sides,
Yeah,
and has to be able to defend all sides.
right. The
So,
the John Adams example.
I'm sorry I cut you off. Was your question,
No,
how would I do
my
that?
question is, if you were in the position where you were his defense attorney, what would you be arguing at this point? How would you look at anything that might exculpate him from, from guilt around?
Oh, Lawrence, I just love it when people use legal terms like
I
exculpate. So
You said exculpate, and my heart just went, ooh.
Excellent.
mine
My plan
too,
is
mine
working,
too.
Anne.
Yes.
I would put the blame squarely on the administration,
Mm,
and not even to say it was that he was following illegal orders. There's literally in the law the concept of agency. And Ross was literally an agent of this government. And this government is not giving them adequate training. It is very likely, I haven't watched the videos, and I won't, because I just can't, but also
right.
because I don't need to for what I do. And so I have heard a lot of different things from different perspectives in terms of the video shows, that he intentionally stepped in front of the car. Well, maybe he did, but maybe that's because he wanted her to stop. I mean, we just don't know until there is this opportunity to examine him, which I think will ultimately happen, by the way.
What do you,
Hmm?
what is it that you think will ultimately happen?
I
That
think
that'll-
ultimately he will end up in court. There will be that opportunity
God, I hope so. I'm
to
going to
either
hold on to that.
examine. But I would say, this was a young kid who the administration threw into the deep end with terrible training, probably in the training said, people are going to use vehicles as weapons, and if you feel your life is in danger, you can use any means to stop them. And in the heat of the moment, whether the adrenaline caused him to be aggressive or whether it was fear, this is what the outcome was. But it is entirely on the administration. So that is how I would defend him.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate the point that, everyone deserves a solid defense. It is part of the foundation of our American system of justice, which, though it may have been flawed over the course of our long history, is a thing that I think sets us apart in the world and has made this democracy function for as long as it has. So I really appreciate your perspective on that.
Well,
Um,
can I also just say that I think that in part the argument I just made is in part why the DOJ isn't prosecuting him, because they know that it would end up ultimately coming back on them
yeah.
and them being prosecuted through him.
We have our chat holding us accountable that, and I just Googled and verified, he has been with ICE for 10 years and was in like 20 years experience. He's a firearms instructor, Jonathan
Oh,
Ross.
okay.
So
See, now I did
not a
not know
newbie.
that. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Me neither.
However, I think that the defense argument, other than he's a young kid, still holds, because regardless of when he was trained and which training he had, this is now the environment that this administration is fomenting. So I would still say much of that applies. But thank you, Chet, for letting me know that.
Our chat keeps us on our toes. Another thing I love is when the chat and even in comments this week, people keep telling me you need to get Jen Budd on your show. And just to let you all know, she will be on Thursday. I know she is I don't know if you follow her. She's new to me, but is a former ICE agent and has been making the rounds on a lot of podcasts. And I am very eager to get her perspective on all
Yeah,
this
that
as
is
well.
awesome. That is awesome. I hope you ask her the same question and then let me know what she says if I can't watch live.
Absolutely.
Absolutely will.
We're
And
coming up on the top of the hour, and Dana asked of Bree kind of what we can do as citizens at this point in time, and I'd love to hear your perspective on what we should be doing.
I'm going to say something that may be counterintuitive, and if anyone, I don't know if you know, but in January, or maybe it was early February, I established an organization, an action organization called We the People Defend, and it's basically we send out information to people about writing or not writing, calling representatives and what to say, and this is what we say, which is again counterintuitive. Call the opposition representatives
Mm.
and remind them that even though you may not be in their district, they may not be your representative, remind them that they represent not just their people, but the people, and be very calm and talk to them. And this has been really successful. People say, no, that's ridiculous. You should only call your representatives and you should write them. And like, no, don't write, because letters and emails can and are be deleted or just not read. A phone call, they have to actually talk to you. And it's been super successful. People have come away after their first call with, in this case, a Republican representative, and said, they really listen. Wow, they're nice. And I have to tell you that the cracks are starting in the Republican, you're seeing it in the Senate,
Yeah.
and in the House. The
Yeah.
cracks are, and so we have a mantra. We are the wedge. Be the wedge. We're the wedge to keep those cracks widening. And we do it by contacting Republican representatives and not arguing or fighting, but actually having dialogue with them, and it's working.
Be the wedge. I love that. I hear your dog, and I love that too. Is your URL explainingthelaw.com? Is that you?
It is. Or
I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's explainingthelaw.com and then / we the people defend.
right. Or you can also just go to wethepeopledefend.org. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Gotcha. No worries. We totally understand. We've got lots
We-
of pets here.
Puppy. Hi, puppy.
Baby.
Sorry about that.
No, that's
Oh my gosh.
okay. Who is
we love-
this?
This is Lily.
Lily. Oh, look at that face.
Oh
She's a
my.
beauty.
She's
And
so.
then people can also get those action alerts, at least some of them, if they're just, because I know we're on Substack, and so if they follow me on Substack.
And please follow Ann on Substack.
Yeah, please follow
Yeah, I
me
didn't
on
mean to do a
Substack.
plug. I was just trying to make it easier. There's a bunch of different ways to.
Yeah, no, do the plug. Karen, who is doing an amazing job as admin today, has been posting links this whole time. You can also click through Anne's name up at the top of this
And-
live to get to her page. Please go follow and subscribe because
Thank you.
what a resource.
We have one more silly question.
You know what? I'm here until you release me.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. It is such a pleasure to talk to you. So we didn't get to ask Bree this, but we'll ask you. So Dana and I are both Gen X, and our publication is called Gen XE, and we'd like to ask people what the all-time ultimate Gen X song is. What is your opinion on this?
Not legally binding.
Right, not legally binding.
Well, I got to tell you that I am not sure what years Gen X is considered to be because I am not Gen X.
Okay.
So if you want to tell me that.
Yeah, Gen X is 1970 to 1969, 1967? When did it start?
65 to
65?
80.
Oh, right, 65 to 80.
1965 to 1980 is when
Okay.
they were born. So think music as people are coming of age in the 80s and early 90s.
Okay, well, I got to tell you that I was a full-time single mother, working full-time and going to university full-time. During that time, I didn't really have an opportunity to listen to a whole lot of that kind of music, but yeah, I got to say I can't tell you the all-time one because
we will accept your favorite song of your generation, whatever you'd like to share with us.
Well, actually, so I prior to having to medically isolate starting in 2020, I was a dancer and I would go out dancing all the time. And so one of my very all-time favorite songs, which is really great to dance to, is Smooth by Santana.
Nice.
Oh, it's a
I love
lovely
that song.
It's a
Rob
very sexy
Thomas.
song. Yeah.
It is a very sexy song.
It is. And I'm not a Matchbox 20 fan at all, but Rob Thomas, that song gave me respect for him because his vocals on that song he does a great job.
Amazing. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
great hips.
That is such a great answer, Anne. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And
Well, thank you.
we're delighted that you could be here with us today, and we hope you will come back in the future. There's so much we can learn from you, and you've got such a calm and reasoned way about you that
thank you.
It's really, I think, great for our audience to continue to learn about this, weird and treacherous time that we are living through.
I am happy to come back anytime at all. As I just mentioned in passing, I am medically isolated. So I'm very busy because the administration is keeping me very busy.
Right.
But I'm also very available to you guys.
Wonderful.
So anytime.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for that.
so much. Be the wedge.
Be
I'm
the
taking-
wedge.
Be the wedge.
Oh my God, Lawrence, are you just feeling like bursting with like?
Also
it's-
live long and prosper.
Yes. Yeah, wait, let me see if I can still. I can't do it anymore.
This thing? Are we all doing it?
Yep. And one last thing to leave you with, if you aren't aware of it, look up rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
Oh, okay.
Doing that right now.
I that all right. I'm writing that down. Awesome.
Um, Thank you
And
so much. Thanks to everyone in the chat. You all have been providing amazing feedback this entire time. Thank you to Karen Marie Shelton for being an amazing moderator in the chat today while we've had these two great guests on. And let's go out and be the wedge, everybody.
all right. Thanks everybody. Thanks,
Love
Anne.
you,
Thank you
mean
so much.
it. Bye, all.
Love you, mean it. Bye.
Love you, mean it. Bye.